again to my channel. Today we're going to discuss practicalized token deployment. At the last session, we created this token using OpenZeppelin. So now we want to deploy this token to a network. Let's deploy this on the blockchain, the EVM blockchain. Yeah. So basically, let's get started. On the left corner, we have the script. In the script file, let's create a file called deployments. Deployments, or just deploy. Deployment. Let's do deployment.cs, the TypeScript file. Okay, so in the deployment file, we'll have to import ethers from hardhat. Then we have to create a main asynchronous function that has where we would do most of our execution. So you will say async function, call this main with no parameters in it. Then we will execute, we will instantiate main here as a function we created above. Catch the arrow is an arrow function there. Then we put in the arrow here, catching. Then we can console dot error, that error. Then we can process that exit code, which is us trying to exit when we have that error, so equal to 1. So we have the basic setup of our deployment script. So basically most of your deployment script will have this basic setup. So let's get to it. We need to connect to this contract and then deploy it. So we copy the contract name right there and go Black Women version 2. We come here and we can say create a new variable called deploy is equal to await, is an asynchronous call. Await ethers, which is what we imported, dot get contract factory. Yes, so we have that here. Then we can now call this const again deploy. This is where we deploy it. The first line 5 was to basically get the contract. Then we can say deploy dot deploy. Okay, right. Then we can now make sure that it is deployed, right? So we say await. We can give that to another variable. We can say results. Call that results equal to await deploy dot deployed. Right. So line 8 is where we actually deploy it, and then we are assigning that to a variable called results. So we want to be able to see the contract address where we have deployed this thing to. So we'll console.log, and then we'll say contract deployed at result.address. So we have that set up. This is good to go. What we now need to do is to set up our hardhat config, where we'll be doing most of some heavy lifting to connect into the network. So with me, this is how this setup works for some people, but this is how I do my own setup. I do module dot export equal to this. Then there's no need for this anymore. Then I can now call in my network here, networks. Put that in there. Then I can, we want to use the goerli network, right? So we've created a video on how to create. So to connect to the blockchain, you need something called an RPC. There's infura, there's alchemy. So I've covered this before. I'm going to place the videos somewhere, maybe on the top right or top left or one of both. On the tutorial of how we did this, we created an RPC URL and created a key. So you can watch that video. Here we created Angry Black Women NFT RPC. So we want to use that. Let's just use that. It's not creating a new one because of time. So we click on view key and then we can copy this URL here. If you notice, this is on the goerli network. That's the network we want to push our token to deploy to actually. So we say goerli. Is this the spelling? Yes. So on goerli, we can now call our URL. Let's do this, and then we would also need an account. So the account is basically the signer, the person who is deploying this contract, the owner of the contract. So we call accounts here, and let's give out an empty string for now, a comma. So we have this set up. Now we want to impute the values for these two. So we're doing that. Let's use something called .env to hide most of these things, because you don't want people seeing your account name. You don't want people seeing the URL that has the API key, right? So I'm going to install .env. So it's npm i save dev. As a dev dependency, I will call that .env. So wait for that to install. Right. So we have .env installed. If we come here to check our package at JSON, we see that .env is a part of our dev dependency. So we can now create a new file, not inside of any of the contracts or any of these other folders, because people make that mistake. It won't work. Create it in your root directory. What I can do is even do it here in my terminal. I can say touch.env. If I ls now, you see we can't find it here, because when you say a file name, it's going to hide that file. So if we do ls-la, we can see .env here. You see that? So that's one of those Linux things you should learn today if you don't know that before. So that's the file here on our left corner, .env. What we can now do is to get we'll call this RPC. Should I say RPC, yes, underscore URL in capital letter, and then we get our API key from here, or the HTTPS, the endpoint, copied, drop that in here just the way it is. That's good. Then we can create another called user, which is the owner, the account we want to, the signer, which is the account we want to deploy to own this token and deploy it. You have to use MetaMask for that. I'm going to spin up or just spin up. And then, okay. Okay, so I want, okay, so I want this account to do the deployment. So we need the API key. No, so we need the private key of this account. So this is how to get the private key for the account. Yeah. I'm going to keep this as a secret because once anybody has your private key, it is compromised. So I'll keep all of this as a secret. You can't be seeing my private key. I'm just showing you how to get your. So once you have your private key, come here, put it here. I'm going to call this, rename this user to, let's call it Skywalker. That's it. Skywalker. So I'm using Skywalker's account to deploy this. We come back here and then we impute the RPC, no, Skywalker as the account. So to get that, yes. So to get that, we need to get import .env here. So .env hides our private key, you know. So to use .env, we say require, make sure it's at the top of your code, the first thing that comes in, you know. So we say require .env as a string the config as a function. Okay, so we have that. Then we'll say here we can now call .env, call the files from the data from our .env file. We say process that env dot, I think it's Skywalker. You get me? Okay, so here we can now do that to process that env dot RPC underscore URL. So that is set. Everything looks fine. Hope we don't run into any errors. This looks fine. This is looking fine. This is looking fine. Okay, so it's time to deploy our script called deployment.cs. So how we do that is we say npx hardhat, and we call this run scripts, go into that script directly /deployment, which is the file. Then we select the network we want to use, and then we'll call that goerli. Hope we don't run into any errors. Okay, we have errors. They are in your config file. Okay, I just saw my errors. These are very basic errors. So this is the error. URL is supposed to come first, right? And then accounts is meant to be in an array. Do you get? So this is going to process that's env. So let's try that again. Okay, so we have another error. This is saying that we actually haven't installed OpenZeppelin as a dependency. So OpenZeppelin here, where we are importing, needs to be installed as a dependency, you know, as a package. So let's copy that and let's install OpenZeppelin. So we'll say npm I. I mean, everyone is prone to errors and mistakes. That's just one of those things you face as a developer. So it's how you solve the errors that matter. So let's deploy again. Okay. All right, fine, fantastic. So all is good, all is well. We have this is where we've deployed to that address as we stated in our script. Console.log contract deployed at the address. So to confirm that we have this installed, we can copy this and then go to goerli scan for goerli, goerli.scan.io. Then we can impute the address here, which is the address to see. Yes, so this is the transaction that happened on that address, which is what? Contract creation. We click on the transaction hash. We see that we've created 60,000 Black women token, and then we sent it to my account. The address, my account. You see that? So it's just one holder that we have, and 18 decimals. Here you see that. So that's it. That's it for this class. Let's now import this token to this MetaMask wallet. Yeah, so to import this, we click on import token and then we drop in the address there. It's going to automatically bring out the symbol and the decimal. So if we add that in, import token. So as you can see, we have this now in our wallet. So these are some of the other ones I've created. I want to send some ABWs to my other account so you know it works. So I'm going to send them to Gandalf Reborn. What's going on here? Well, I don't need that. I'll send some to Gandalf Reborn. So if I copy the address, go back to the owner of the token, as you can see, at Gandalf Reborn doesn't have ABW. So we can come back to the owner and then let's send some ABW to my other account. I can click here to do that, but let's just do it the traditional way. How many ABW do I want to send? Let me send 50 to Gandalf. So what options do we have? Okay, these are like the other tokens that you might want to send. So we're just sending ABW. Let's put that again. 50 ABWs. We have a limited stock. So send that next. Yeah, estimated gas fees and whatnot. Say new gas experience. We updated how gas fee estimation works. Well, I'll check that later. So we confirm. So this transaction is still pending, and there's an option to speed it up, but I'm not going to do that. Let's just wait. Wait for a bit. I can also still check here to see what's going on with the transaction has been confirmed. Okay, so this is the transaction. Let's still check here. Let me refresh this page. Okay, so now I have two holders. You see, I have two holders, and this is the second transaction that happened where I sent the money to Gandalf Reborn. Let's check Gandalf Reborn to see if he has the money, if he has the ABW token. Okay, so you can see this has reduced percent 50. We come here to yeah. No one's connect. It's not reflecting here yet because we've not imported the token. So let's import the token for Gandalf Reborn. So you can see that he has that token in his account. So import tokens. Put the address here. Same way. So you can see we have 50 we have 50 ABWs. We have 50 ABWs. So that's it. That's how to deploy your token or your smart contract to a testnet. It's that easy. If you enjoyed this tutorial, if you found it very informative, enlightening, or maybe it has helped you with doing your schoolwork, assignment, or maybe a project, an actual project, please like, share, and subscribe. Those numbers motivate us to do more and publish more, share more of our knowledge. Thank you. See you another time.